Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the music rating, ranking, and reviewing podcast I like to call Music Meltdown, which we rate, rank, and review any artist discography, songs, musical topics, really whatever comes to mind. This episode, probably the heaviest band that I'm going to cover because I don't really have intents to do any others. We're going into the realm of progressive metal with the discography of Opeth. How about you give the intro to Opeth? You know a little bit more about these guys than me.
Well, yeah. Well, since they're my favorite band for sure, and I've been listening to them since 2003, I believe. Yeah, 2003 when Damnation record came out, and I was hooked. I think I listened to that record for a year before I actually delved, to the other stuff, the previous Blackwater Park, Ghost Reveries after that, and etc. So they're actually a band that is quite unique in my opinion. They started, like a death metal band, uh, basically with some progressive elements influenced by Dream Theater and bands of sorts. But later they kind of changed their sound after, My Arms, Your Hearse, and Still Life, and especially later with Blackwater Park, their breakthrough album actually. Um and I don't know. I like Michael, actually Mikkel Ackerfeld. I like his voice. I believe that I think that his clean singing voice is actually brilliant. And also, I know that people don't like, those growls and harsh vocals, but I think he actually has them. Uh, he has them. Those vocals, they're pretty good actually. So uh, if you're not into that stuff, I get it, but you know. So how was your experience with Opeth? I'm actually quite curious to see that and hear.
Don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. I knew nothing about Opeth going into this. I kind of brought it up as a joke, but it happened. Um, this is by far sort of the heaviest band that I've chosen to listen to. I've really not even thought about listening to black metal or death metal or anything beforehand. And mind you, they do veer away from that later on, but it was interesting to say the least.
I think I know your favorite one from,
It's pretty clear.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that I don't know your number one, but and I actually 100 support that decision since that album was for sure my number one for a long time. If that's the record I'm thinking of. So well, we'll see soon
Yep.
enough.
Already 13 albums, so we're going to do it 13, 12, 11, then kick into the top 10. I want to preface this by saying I've looked at a few Opeth lists. This might be the furthest off I am from general consensus about a band ever. So let's get into this.
Go ahead.
Oh boy. These bottom two, I feel like, are definitely going to raise some eyebrows. My number 13, I have Deliverance. This is about what I expected Opeth to be. Very heavy with some unlistenable vocals and a bunch of aimless playing that really goes nowhere. It's not nearly as bad as I expected it to be. It's just incredibly dull. I think when Mikhail does do the clean vocals, they're honestly brilliant. I love his voice, but the music surrounding it is often the issue, and the lack of really proper songs across this whole record really drags it down. However, it's only a 2.5. That's as low as I go for Opeth.
Really?
Yep,
I appreciate it.
I
I
don't think they have
expected
a bad
zero
album.
stars or something like that.
All right, this is where I think things get dicey. Number 12 for me, Ghost Reveries. This album just really bored me. They rebound into more of the heavier style, which just doesn't work as well in comparison to something like Damnation. The songs are fine, the playing's great. I just can't get into the growls. And coming off of their best album, this is a letdown. I'm at 2.5 for this one as well. And then at number 11, I'm going with Heritage. This is kind of the opposite of Deliverance. While that record is far too harsh and metallic for me, this one's just really dull. They're going back to the gentle acoustic style, but there are some kind of cool flourishes throughout it. But for the most part, it's just not very exciting. And even vocally, I feel like this is probably one of his weaker efforts. It's well produced, it's well played, it's decently complex, but it's boring. So 2.5 stars for it, and my last 2.5 stars. So
Wow. Wow.
I like this considerably more than I expected to.
Well, that's a big surprise for me as well. Okay. Well, Ghost Reveries being that low, it kind of bothers me, but okay, I get it. I see it, but my number 13 is, I don't know if you can see it, Heritage from 2011. I remember when this was supposed to, come out in 2011, and I was kind of expecting to see other Damnation or something like that, since Mikael already told, in the interviews and stuff that he's not gonna do, death metal anymore. So he's gonna go clean vocals and stuff. And I expected when I first heard some snippets of the album that's gonna be another Damnation, but I was kind of disappointed big time since it wasn't, and it's I think he tried too hard to be, those prog 70s bands, that he liked, and trying to do stuff that I think there are bands that did that much better than Opeth, to be honest. And Heritage, it has some decent moments on it. Folklore, for example, I think it's a solid enough song. Uh, it has some quirky lyrics that I'm kind of disappointed as well, since I think Mikael had some really nice lyrics before. Their first single off it, The Devil's Orchid, was interesting. I can say that the riff is quite nice, but the song itself kind of meanders a lot, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. Hex Process is actually quite nice, and my favorite track off of this album is the last one, Mare of the Earth, the instrumental one. I think it has nice acoustics on it. So yeah, but big disappointment for me as well. 2.5 stars as well. So that's my number 13. I don't have number 12. The only album that I don't have, and that's Sorceress from 2016. I have it at 2.5 stars as well. That one, I actually dig a lot the title track. I think it's pretty good. But the rest of the album is kind of uninspired and, to be honest, boring. There are some decent tracks like Era. Uh, I what was I can't remember the title track names, but doesn't matter. It's boring to me, except the title track, which I actually, when I heard, I was like, whoa, this is nice. They're going a little bit heavier this time around, but nope. So number 12, Sorceress, 2.5 stars. Number 11, I don't have that album separately, but I have this collection, Candlelight Years. It contains first three records from Opeth, and this one is Orchid, their debut record. I have this one at 3 stars. It's a good record. There are some nice tunes on it, like in the Mist She Was Standing. I like the instrumental ones. Let me see the name, Requiem. I think that's a great piano piece, to be honest. But they still haven't found their sound here, I believe, and they will just improve later, especially on My Arms, Your Hearse. So this one is number 11, Orchid, 3 stars.
All right, this is where it gets rough, man. This is where it
Yeah,
gets real rough.
my body's ready.
Number 10 is Blackwater Park. Uh, were you ready?
Oh my God. Okay.
I thought this was a solid release, but however, to me the band was getting a bit stale by this point. The playing and the production keeps getting better, but it seems like the song structures are simply falling behind for me. Slowly feeling more and more just like aimless noodling with, for me, the cleaner the production got, the worse Mikel's screaming vocals became, because they became far more predominant, they became far more noticeable, and it doesn't mellow into the more lo-fi sound of the record. So for me, just the more clean the instrumentation got, the worse the vocals got for me. I'm sure he's great from a technical level, but I simply don't want to listen to it. While still good, for me, it lacks the individual moments within the playing and the songs that made other Opeth records shine earlier for me. I'm only at 3 stars. However,
That's something.
probably your number one. So
Yeah, I have a question regarding that one. Do you
Yep.
like Harvest, the
Let
song?
me double check. I don't immediately
Yeah,
remember.
that's the acoustic one, the third track.
Yeah,
They
I think I remember
yeah,
liking that one.
I thought you were gonna like that one for some reason. But okay, 3 stars at least. That's, it's not 0 or 1 or something like some other will give. So yeah, I can see that in some strange, bizarre world, but okay. Number 10. Okay, my number 10 is Pale Communion from 2014. This one is better than Heritage for sure. More coherent record. There are songs that are, I think, pretty good, like Moon Above, Sun Below, Cusp of Eternity, the first single, Eternal Rains Will Come. Actually, pretty decent songs. Fate in Others as well. There are some songs that uh, they're still doing that prog 70s stuff, which I don't mind, but it's too happy for me. I expected to, when I listen to Opeth, I want to hear sadness, bleakness, and this just doesn't work for me at all. I have it at 3 stars. I think, yeah, 3 stars. I actually have had it higher before, but when I listened to the discography again, I was like, no, man, I cannot give more than 3 stars. I mean, there are some songs like Goblin, for example, that are clearly inspired by the band Goblin from Italy. They did, soundtrack for Suspiria, the original one, and I kind of dig that track as well. It's an instrumental, but in general, not my cup of tea. So 3 stars.
All right, this one I actually don't really know how people feel about, so it's going to be interesting to see where it places for you.
Hmm.
Number 9 for me, I have Cassa Venenum. The playing and vocals are still really good on this. I just struggle to be drawn into the individual tracks. It's technically proficient, but to me, it comes off a bit derivative at this point in the career. And compared to the albums before it, the two before it, it lacks any top tier Opeth songs for me. But the only one I felt very strongly to being Next of Kin. The playing and vocals are still great, and I do fully understand why somebody would love this style of music. It's just not a personal favorite of mine. I'm not the biggest prog fan in the world. I'm going to go 3 stars for it. It's a pretty decent record. Number 9, Incauda Venenum.
Well, guess we have the same one. Number 9 as well. This one is signed actually when I saw it in live. Uh, I don't know. This one is clearly the best one since their non-growl eras from Heritage and onwards, for sure. In my opinion, there are some nice tracks, and for example, Charlotte. I actually prefer. I don't know which version did you listen, the English one or the original Swedish version.
I believe the English one was the one on streaming I
Yeah,
listened.
I think the Swedish version is much better when he sings in Swedish. It's much better in my opinion, and there's some good songs on it, like uh, Next of Kin, like you mentioned. I love that one. Charlatan also great track. The Garroter, the one that actually has that jazzy lounge feeling to it. I love that one as well. Still, I have it like 3.5 stars. It's clearly the best in my opinion of the new Opeth era. So yeah, there's some nice playing here as well. I think his vocals are great on it, especially in the Swedish version. I'm not sure why, because they translated. I believe he, wrote lyrics first in Swedish, then they translated in English. But I think it sounds much better. If I would rate the English one, I would give it like 3 stars, but Swedish one 3.5 for sure. It's much better sounding that way.
All right. Well, we're talking about pretty similar records now, except at the bottom. Number 8 for me, I have Telecommunication. Shout out to Clay, who says it was the best Opeth record.
Pale Communion is the name of the record.
Whoopsie. This is a bit more what I like from Opeth, but I still do struggle to love the album, mainly because it came out in 2014. The progressive playing is very talented and impressive, and I do enjoy hearing them play out more of these sort of parts. The vocals are outstanding, but rarely does it come together to create a truly great song, which is really my main issue with Opeth in general. I think that the playing is incredibly proficient, incredibly lovely to listen to. I think that Mikael has a beautiful vocals. I feel like very rarely throughout the extended length times do I feel like they properly justify it and really properly make what I would consider a very good song, as much as sort of a good showcase of their playing. The opener, however, Eternal Rains Will Come, is one of my favorite Opeth songs. As well, I thought River was very good too. I had a pretty high 3 stars for this one, close to 3.5. But yeah, pretty solid record. Pale Communion, number 8.
Well, I get it. I don't get Clay saying that this is the best Opeth record. He told me that as well. I was like, no, man, you got it all wrong. But okay,
The thing is,
it's
how many
Clay.
more has he listened to?
That's the question. I think that's the only one. And maybe I know he listened My Arms Your Hearse for the 1998 dive, I believe, or
And
something
probably
like
as
that.
well Damnation for '03.
Yeah. Okay, so my number, we're eight, right? Is album also from the Candlelight Years set. That is Morningrise, their second album. This one I had much higher when I started listening to Opeth, doing a deep dive. Uh, I love, I really love To Bid You Farewell. That track, in my opinion, is amazing. His that track is sang in clean vocals totally. It's a bit longer, but I believe it's a great one. And also, fun, fan favorite track that they actually played live this year, I believe, for the first time after fans been asking for them to play it like for 20 years. Black Rose Immortal. I think that's the longest Opeth song. I think believe it's like 20 something minutes. I love that one. And also I love The Night in the Silent Water. I don't know. I have it like in 3.5 stars, but in some other day it may be even higher. I like it. The production is muddier, like in the debut, and I I don't mind it. His vocals are still developing, the clean vocals, and I like the bass tone here as well. It's their first. I don't remember the name of, of the bass player, but I think he was great in the beginning. So I don't know. Currently, it's number 8 and 3.5 stars, but it could be higher any other day for sure.
Alrighty, that is my number 7. I honestly found it to be a slight step down from Orchid, which I think is a bit contentious, but I'm at 3.5 stars. It's a good record. I have 7 Opeth records I genuinely consider good. I will admit the vocals are a bit of a struggle here. At points,
Mhm.
they sound a bit cartoony. However, I think that they work better with the more lo-fi production style, but the clean singing, even across the early point of the career, is lovely, and the crushing riffs and strong playing really elevate them forward, as opposed to why I would like them more than, say, a Dream Theater. They're also leaning far more prog on this record, with some songs reaching upwards of 20 minutes, and while I wouldn't call myself a big fan of sort of any individual song, there are plenty of strong parts that make it worthwhile, and while it's not my favorite thing in the world, it's certainly good, and I can recognize the appeal of it. So number 7, Morningrise, 3.5 stars. 7 good
I
Opeth records.
Yeah, I actually respect that. I mean, that's totally fine. 3.5 stars for a progressive death metal album and band from you.
Yeah, I didn't see
That's
this one coming, man.
Yeah. I expected absolutely different, rankings from you, but that's good. Okay, I have at number 7 the album that you had on your last place, and that is Deliverance from 2002. Initially, this album and Damnation were supposed to be one album, like two sides, like one heavy, one soft side, but the record company decided it's maybe better for them to release them separately. And I think actually it works. I don't like those kind of, separate sides and one album like heavy and soft or whatever. I actually like what they did here. They did first a heavy one, and 1 year later they released Damnation. I don't know. I like this one. It's heavy and it's not that accessible, and it's not as melodic as some as earlier stuff or even later stuff. Uh, the first song you hear, "Read," is heavy, heavy as fuck. I mean, it's not for everyone, but I believe it contains one of their best tracks in their catalog, and that's they're usually closing their set lists with this one, Deliverance, the title track. I believe it's amazing. It's heavy, and it's that ending part is, for me, every time when I see them live, that ending part always gets me. It's great. Also, there's some Fair Judgment, for example, the song that he actually sang in his clean vocal voice, and I believe that one is also great. It's also heavy, but without growls. So that one is great as well. There's some nice soloing on there. So in general, I have this one already, I believe. Yes, 4 stars.
Alrighty. This may be, aside from the stuff that I had way low, this might be my next sort of controversy here. Number six for me, I had Orchid. This album honestly pretty surprised me a good bit. I'm at 3.5 stars. I think the playing is still really strong here. The guitar parts are killer, same with the drumming, and the arrangements and movements moving through the songs are all very well thought out. While I knew they were prog, I had expected this to be a far heavier record than it is. While it's definitely heavy, there's certainly a sense of beauty to be found within the playing. Even the vocals on this record weren't too much of a turnoff. It mainly just falls lower because I don't think that they were really writing great songs at this point. But I do like everything here. It doesn't have the standouts to make it anything outstanding, but it's good, and it was a pleasant surprise. 3.5 stars. It was really a relief whenever I heard that record, and I was like, I'm finding stuff to actually like here. I feel like that was definitely the point in which I was like, okay, this might not be so bad now.
Well, that's surprising. Usually, hardcore Opeth fans, if you want to call them like that, they don't have Orchid plays that high. Even for them, they are, metal purists. They want only growls and death metal and stuff like that. So that's surprising for you to have, Orchid as their, debut, and they're not yet developed their sound. But yeah, I think the vocals also are good actually on it. That muddy production, they didn't have money to pay a better studio at that time. They actually, I believe, Mikel told one time in the interview they want to, disband the band, soon after. They were not, thinking that they're gonna succeed, but they did. But with the album that you put like second to last or what have you. But okay, that's okay. Okay, my number six is the last record they released with death metal vocals, with growls, and that is Watershed from 2008. I remember when this album came out, I was, waiting. As soon as they, announced they're gonna release a new one, I was, and I saw the cover, the artwork, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be heavy for sure, bleak. And I was actually surprised when I heard the album, since their first single, I believe, was Porcelain Heart, which was heaviest song, but there were no growls on it, but it was a moody piece. And kind of at first when I heard it, it was like, this is like kind of boring, you know. But when I heard the record as the whole from start to finish, I was respecting it much more. And there are some excellent songs. For example, Burden is in my top 10 Opeth songs for sure. That keyboard organ solo that Per was doing is amazing in my opinion. It's a very catchy, accessible actually song for an Opeth record at this point in their career. Coil, they start with Coil, which is a duet, I believe. I don't remember the name of the singer who sang with Michael. I believe that's a beautiful track. And the heavy stuff here, I believe, is amazing. Lotus Eater and that weird, I don't know, circus music part in the middle is always gets to me. It's funny as fuck. Hex Omega, great song. It's heavy and it's moody, and it has some nice atmosphere to it, grandiose, you know. Here, what have and Era Parent as well, great song, heavy. So all in all, I love this record. I had it higher as well. I from this Opeth era, I had it much higher than some of the records that I have now, and I have it at 4.5 stars already. So everything else is gonna be much higher, 4.5 or 5 stars soon enough. So
Nice.
number six, Watershed, 4.5 stars. The last Opeth record that I actually really, really, really love.
All right. That is my number five, Watershed. It feels like far more of a natural follow up to Damnation, in my opinion. You get the metal and the growling vocals back, but they're far more naturally incorporated within the progressive style, I feel. The softer instrumentation is still lovely, and the clean vocals are great. The opener Coil was marked down as potentially even my favorite Opeth song. That track is lovely. Sadly, after Burden, I didn't find much I was able to fully draw myself into. That's kind of the issue with Opeth. I respect them a lot, but I do feel like they often bloat their records a little bit. Trim them down to say 40 minutes with a couple of longer tracks in there, and I feel like they'd be a lot more cohesive to me. However, people are here for the progressive playing, so what do I know? On the whole, though, it's still a good record, a solid 3.5 stars. Totally understand why you'd love it. They're just never going to be my perfect cup of tea, but still good.
That's fine. That's fine. Adrian, I actually started to respect you much more after this. I didn't expect you to actually like any of Opeth records, maybe Damnation,
Did
but
I?
yeah, I actually thought it's gonna be a massacre. You're gonna massacre the butcher all of them.
That's when we
But
do Dream Theater. That's when we do Dream.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, my number five is actually again an album from this collection. This time, My Arms, Your Hearse from 1998. This one, this album was actually for a long time my favorite Opeth record. This was the first one that I heard after Damnation, and I fell in love with their, maybe most recognizable songs, maybe more Demon of the Fall, which is a great track, and I love the atmosphere. And this album is actually a semi-concept album, so it follows some story about the ghost, and I don't know, I forgot to be honest, but there are some nice tunes here. Credence, which is their mellower track and acoustic number where Michael sang, in his clean vocal. April, Ethereal, great one. When, uh, the Amen Corner, Demon of the Fall, I don't know, Karma. I know every song on here, I think it flows immaculately. It's enjoyable listen, and when I listen to this album, I actually tend to listen from start to finish. I don't, listen for specific songs. When I listen to Opeth, especially these earlier stuff like My Arms Your Hearse or Still Life, I prefer to listen from start to finish to follow the story. And there is some kind of atmosphere on it, like, fall, winter vibes. The production, I believe, it's quite nice for this kind of sound they were going through. So I know I love it, and I have it at 4.5 stars. I had it at 5 before, but over time I kind of, there's better records that deserve 5 stars for me for Opeth rather than My Arms, but still a great record.
Alrighty, that is my number four. Pretty much everything I said about the previous two albums, just say it again. It's good. I love the playing. It's all technical, but it's very heavy at the same time. However, as I was mentioning before, I think as the production continues to clear out the less I like Mikel's vocals earlier on. However, the cleanly sung vocals are lovely, and this album had the first Opeth song I would say that I truly actually liked, being
Credence.
Karma.
What?
Yeah, that was really good. All
Lovely.
in all, it's a pretty good record. I like what they're going for. I think that's a pretty solid one across the board. I am at 3.5 stars for it. It is really good.
Nice, nice. I actually respect. I didn't expect Karma to be the song that you liked from this album. I expect it to be Credence or something like that, or Epilogue, or I don't know, not Epilogue. I don't remember the last song, but either way, good to hear. Uh, my number four is my first 5 star Opeth record, and this one I bought as soon as it came out. It was their 2005 Ghost Reveries. I love this album, and at some point of time, this one was my number one, and they, changed throughout. Like My Arms was number one, Ghost Reveries was number one. All in all, I believe this album has, a great mix of, clean vocal, soft side Opeth, heavy Opeth, and I love it's. I believe their most accessible one up to that point. And this album actually, I believe that broke them, that made them famous even in USA. So they had some big concerts after this album was released, and there are some great tracks in here. The first two songs on it, they're amazing. Ghost of Perdition, classic. The Baying of the Hounds also. Uh, Beneath the Mire with those Eastern vibes, Eastern riffs, very good. There is one of the songs here, the Grand Conjuration, that they released as the first single, I believe. They released the shorter version, which I don't like. I prefer the long one that's on the record. I believe that's the most heaviest song they ever did. More, it's very evil, and that you know bleak sound, and I don't know, I love it. And also the last song on it, the closing track, Isolation Years, it's a beautiful one. I love it. It's not in my top 10 favorite Opeth songs, but it's in top 20 for sure. I love it, that one. So this one, Ghost Reveries, 5 stars, number 4.
A little high for me, but a little high. No, I get it. I get it. My number three is going to be Still Life. This is still an Opeth record. Great playing, strong vocals, greatly heavy while still having a good level of technical playing and progressive edge to everything. The production as well continues to improve with everything being very crystal clear despite how heavy it is. The only thing holding it back is me not loving metal or loving prog. And
That's
just
right.
with the cleaner production, the heavier death metal stuff doesn't quite work for me. It's all still a good album. I like it. And if you're into that style, you'll love it. It's just, it's never going to be my favorite thing, you know? So it is what it is. 3.5 stars. I still did enjoy listening to it, though. Number three, Still Life.
So 3.5 stars as well, right? Do you like Face of Melinda on it, and Benighted? Benighted, the acoustic number.
Give me one moment to double check. I don't immediately remember.
Yeah, the name, since it's your first
Oh,
time listening to them.
Serenity, Painted Death, and Face of Melinda were the two that
Yeah,
I like from that record.
yeah. Didn't expect Serenity Painted that, since that's I think believe the heaviest one on that album. So I don't know, man. I don't know you.
It's the Bizarro realm.
Yeah. Okay. My number three. Uh, it's pained me to put it here, but I have to. I mean, this album was my number one
Don't
for
do
the
it.
longest time. Yeah, and this is the first Opeth record I heard. This album was recommended to me by an old friend. Actually, he's an older man now, and he was into King Crimson, Rush, and all that prog act. And he was like never into metal, especially not death metal. And he was one day he came to me and said, "Let me give you an album, you're gonna love it." Okay, I was like, okay, fine. Give me, and that's the first time I heard Opeth. He gave me Damnation from 2003. And I remember at that time I was like kind of, that, teenager going depressing stuff, going through some stuff. And I listened to this album for a whole fucking year, nonstop. Believe me, I was walking down the street, you know, going to school, going outside, doesn't matter. I was, put this album on and I listened day and night. I was hooked. I love every song on it, and I have it to 5 stars, obviously. But my uh, favorite song on it, and for a long time, my favorite Opeth song was Window Pane. I believe that song is amazing. I love how it opens the album and sets the mood and tone perfectly. Uh, some of the best. It was actually produced also. I don't know if I mentioned this before. It was produced by Steven Wilson from Porcupine Tree. And the way I actually got into Porcupine Tree as well was through Opeth, since I saw the documentary of them making Damnation and Deliverance. And, Mikhail was speaking highly of Steven and about Porcupine Tree, how they influenced them as well. And I was like, yeah, I should probably check them out as well. And I love his production on it. Um, it's a beautiful, bleak, I want to say depressing album. I love every song, especially the ending. The only thing I have to, point out here that I don't like is that ending credits is not the last song to close the record. It's weakness, which I believe it's not as good as of a closer as ending credits are for this album. All in all, I love it. 5 stars for sure. So, Damnation.
Nice, nice. This is something I don't know if you realize is still on my list.
Yeah.
My number two is Sorceress. Um, this is just more up my alley than the more metal forward stuff. It's about as heavy as I want them to be. Killer drum parts and crunchy guitar work, with angelic, clean vocal styles and incredible performances. The songs are all strong, they develop well, they never feel as if they drift or go into like a jam style, like an aimless nature. And to me at least, eh. And to me at least, compared to some of their other works, it feels very focused. The title track, Chrysalis, A Fleeting Glance, and especially Era are all quite strong and make it one of my favorites. I think that it's a very solid record front to back. I don't really have too much in terms of flaws with it. 3.5 stars. I think that it is a quite good record.
Yeah, actually, I understand you completely. Since I have some friends that don't like Opeth, especially they don't like death metal Opeth, and they were like, "What? Sorceress, fantastic album, 5 stars, million stars." I don't know. Lots of people actually got introduced to Opeth by listening to Sorceress, since it's actually a pretty accessible album. It's not as proggy as Pale Communion or confusing as Heritage. It's more on point. They're not actually, I remember, they're not as long of the songs there as of other albums. It's more cohesive, so I understand people liking that album. I personally do not like
Yeah,
it. It's kind of meh,
I get it.
but okay, I get it, you as well, so that's totally fine. Okay, two more to go. Well, uh I want to say that this album was never my favorite Opeth album. It was most of the time it was like number four, number five. But in the last couple of years, I got to appreciate more, over some of the records like Damnation or Ghost Reveries. And that's the album that most people have at number one, I believe, Blackwater Park. The album was produced again by Steven Wilson, and I believe this is maybe one of the best produced metal records, especially death metal records, in my opinion. Uh, the title track is my favorite Opeth song by far. I don't know. I love that song, especially when he screams "Sunsets Forever" over Blackwater Park. That part always gets me. I love it, and I love that it closes the album. It has some nice moments as well, like the opening track, the Leper Affinity. Also, We Enter Winter once again. Actually, I listened to this one today in my car. Uh, Bleak. I love that one. I love the chorus on it. It's amazing. Steven Wilson also actually sings on it, so it's great. Drapery Falls, great. I don't know. I love every song on it. It flows amazing. So I don't know. I understand people having this high. I don't understand people like you having this at like I don't know 10 or something like that. But it's an amazing record, their breakthrough record, after which they actually became a little bit more known. So I have it, of course, at 5 stars.
Alrighty. Throughout all of the goofy wackiness that I've displayed today, I feel like this could have been foreseen from hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
My number one record is Damnation. To me, it's just where all the pie comes together. You drop the intrusive death metal elements and are now just settling for a really great crop of songs. Very acoustic and atmospheric leaning, but without much of the metal. It's very progressive within their playing, but never feels overwhelming or over the top. But you can still feel the technicality throughout the movements and the different song structures across here. And with the death metal vocal and with the death metal vocals being gone, even though I was cool with them, Mikkel's voice just jumps up to an entire other level. I think that there is an argument for him just bluntly being the best singer in metal, and hell, maybe even up there in Prague. His vocals are outstanding. It's a very angelic and stunning release that has very minor flaws in general for me. I am at a very high 4 stars of basically every song being very good, and it's basically everything that I could have wanted from an Opeth record. Number one, Damnation, almost 100% would have been in my top 25 for '03 too. So, oh,
Yeah.
probably top 15.
Yeah, I appreciate that totally. And that's the album I had in mind that you're gonna have at number one, and the album that I had the most on my number one as well. And you can feel why I was disappointed when I first heard Heritage. when they were announcing the album, it's gonna go like mellow stuff. I expected another Damnation #2 or something like that, but no, we didn't get that. We got some weird proggy camel stuff that Mikael adored and adores still. So you know, Damnation is a fantastic record. So I appreciate you having that high as well. 4 stars. That's a lot. Okay, my number one record and my favorite Opeth for a very long time. I love every song on it. It's a concept album. I love the story of it. I didn't know if you follow the story and the lyrics, but it's amazing. I have Still Life from 1999. Uh, I don't know. I This album has great production in my opinion. Yes, it's a little bit clean for your taste, and Mikhail's voice the growls actually sounds amazing on it. The opening track, the more sets the tone of the record fantastically. It starts that's a long 2 minute intro, I believe, and that crunchy guitar riff comes in. I love every second of it. Godhead's Lament also, and then we come to Benighted, to stepping down with that acoustic guitar, amazing song. And then when we come to the Face of Melinda, one of their most well-known songs, and then the song you actually said that you liked, the Serenity Painted Death, one of their heavier songs for sure. And they end the song with White Cluster, which has that amazing, maybe my favorite Opeth solo done by Peter Lundgren. He was in the band up until I believe Watershed. He didn't. Ghost Reveries was the last one with him, and he did an amazing job there. So all in all, I love every second of it. I love the story, about Melinda and the guy coming back to his village. There's some cult sect, I don't know, and he returned to his love to but in the end they hang her. So he killed a lot of people after that, and they hang him in the end. It's a actually great story. Mikhail did a great job in my opinion, you know coming up with this, and the music actually follows that story quite well as well. So I don't know. For a long time, this was my favorite opera. It's gonna be, it's gonna remain as my favorite one. So 5 stars, obviously. Still Life, #1.
Nice, nice. This was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. I was expecting ravenous sort of hatred and despair, but I honestly found plenty to enjoy in here. And I think that what really helped it is something that you brought up sort of in passing that I think is very key to why somebody like me who has no interest in death metal, really very little interest in metal or prog in and of itself, is underneath all of the heaviness and sort of the expanding parts, their songs are just very melodic at points. There are
Yeah.
very catchy parts. There are very notable like moments within the playing to where it will latch into you, it will get you hooked in, and you will remember it over future listens. And I think that that is really the key to why I would put them above like a Dream Theater, or I would like them over, say, hell, maybe at points like a King Crimson and some of what they're doing. Not saying that they're a better band than King Crimson. I'm
Yeah,
just
I
there
understand.
are points in which I would prefer them.
Yeah, you got that right. I mean, the melodic stuff. I mean, yeah, those riffs, and Mikhail knows how to write melodic, guitar passages, and so I understand. And I actually understand. I mean, your rankings were quite unexpected for me, to be honest. So
Yeah,
I understand people not okay. You cannot like death metal growls, and I don't know if you're not into it or in metal in general. But I respect that you respect that there is actually something good beneath all of that. So I'm glad that you actually had an opportunity to listen. I for a long time. Uh, Megadeth was my favorite band in high school, but through all of that, Opeth grow the most on me. So I can always listen to Opeth. I love them. I love everything they did, but actually not everything. But okay, the classic stuff I know I'm gonna love always, and I can listen to them always. So I appreciate you doing this as well. So this is unexpected.
Absolutely. Liked
Yeah.
it considerably more than I would have expected to.
You see, there's stuff in metal you can enjoy. So you can just
Oh,
give
absolutely.
metal a chance.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, that being said, I hope that you all enjoyed this. Definitely a bit of a unexpected result from me, but hey, that's what makes it fun. That being said, you all have a good one.